This is episode 3 of Entrepreneurs for Change. If you like this podcast, join our mailing list at entrepreneursforchange.com and we'll give you the Business Changemakers Toolkit for free. This is a public service announcement. When we think of poverty, it's easy to equate it with lack of food, water, medicine, and money, but we don't realize that for 1.5 billion people, which is a quarter of humanity, that light is in fact a luxury. When the sun goes down for these people, the day is over. Now, can you imagine what that means in a crisis situation? In places where there is no security. It's really dangerous at night, folks, especially for women and children. Going out to get water, firewood, or simply to go to the bathroom in the dark can be a life or death matter. Waka Waka, which means shine bright in Swahili, is a company that is bringing light to desperate people in times of darkness. For every solar light or mobile charger purchased, they give one to a family in need somewhere in the world, in places like Haiti, Syria, and the Philippines. They partner with organizations like the IRC, the International Rescue Committee, to make sure Waka Waka units reach the families who need it the most as soon as possible. According to Bob Kitchen, Director of Emergency Preparedness and Response of the International Rescue Committee, Waka Wakas are among the most valued aid tools we distribute in the Philippines. And here's what Kofi Annan had to say about Waka Waka. The Solar for Philippines campaign brings light into darkness in a sustainable and energy-efficient way. If you want a stylish, efficient solar charger that you know is going to help someone in need, mosey on over to solarforphilippines.org and get one now. Again, that's www.solarforphilippines.org. Now on to the show. Are you ready to be the change? If so, you've come to the right place. You're about to join a movement of entrepreneurs who are empowering people, saving the planet, and turning their passion into profits while creating the lifestyle of their dreams. If you don't believe us, check out our website at entrepreneursforchange.com, a place where you can be inspired, mentored, and supported by a tribe of change-making entrepreneurs just like you. Yo, Changemakers! Lorna Lee here, your host for another episode of Entrepreneurs for a Change. We've got an exciting interview with Camille Van Gestel of Waka Waka, a company that makes the world's most efficient solar lights and mobile solar chargers. Camille is going to share with us his incredible story of how Waka Waka raised over $700,000 on Kickstarter in 1 month, ranked themselves one of the top 5 Kickstarter campaigns of all time, and provided light to over 60,000 Haitians impacted by the 2010 earthquake, all in one campaign. During this interview, Camille will unveil Waka Waka's disruptive, for-profit business model that allows them to bring solar lights at a low cost to those at the base of the pyramid who need it the most. Share with you powerful and actionable pre-launch strategies that made their crowdfunding campaign a massive success. Reveal little-known secrets to getting your project ranked high in the Kickstarter system so you can capitalize on the thousands of people in the Kickstarter community who are actively looking for cool things to fund. Explain how they leveraged stretch goals to engage their early backers to evangelize their campaign, boost their Kickstarter rankings, and vastly multiply their original funding goal. Reveal how much of a workload you are really signing up for when you launch a Kickstarter campaign. And tell you a story about why a blind headman in Africa would want a Waka Waka solar light for his family. Now, if you like this episode, please give us a 5-star rating in iTunes. The more 5-star ratings we get, the more visibility we'll get in iTunes, and the more we can get these inspiring social entrepreneur stories out to the world. I mean, we hear about business wrecking the planet every day, but we rarely hear about businesses that are saving the planet. We don't hear many stories about people like Camille who are using creative entrepreneurial solutions to address the world's most pressing concerns. Now, if this episode inspires you to start a world-changing business, we want to help you. Just head over to entrepreneursforchange.com and download the free Business Changemakers Toolkit to kickstart your purpose-driven business today. Finally, if there's a changemaker you'd love for us to interview on this show, go to entrepreneursforachange.com/suggest to make your recommendation today. If you stick around for the end of the show, I'll share with you the top 10 habits of the rich and the one simple practice that is helping ethical retailers like Waka Waka rise to stardom. And I'll share with you a really great web tool for small businesses to get a handle on your cash flow and finances. Now let's dive into the interview. So, Camille, thank you so much for joining us. Would you tell me more about your company and how you got involved in this venture?
Thanks for having me, and my pleasure to tell a little bit more about Waka Waka. Well, this started in 2010, actually prior to the World Cup Soccer in South Africa, where we won a competition to green the World Cup Soccer. So basically to offset the entire carbon footprint of the World Cup, which was quite significant. Several million tons of carbon went up in the air as a result of a few games of soccer. So we introduced a nationwide scheme with LED lights, so to change incandescent lights with LED lights. And while we were driving from one project to another, from an office building to a restaurant to all kinds of basically rich people's structures, we were passing townships where people were living who had no access to light. And even though the South African government had promised that the World Cup would be good also for the, let's say, the poorer part of the population, which other people would call like the base of the pyramid, there we were with our good intentions, and those people didn't fit in our program. So a seed was planted there that we really should make an effort and see if we can come up with a solution which would be able to provide light for them as well, who were not connected to the grid at all. So then, come half a year later, I was in Hong Kong because I did a lot of production work in China, and I usually step over in Hong Kong just to acclimatize a little bit. Hong Kong is a fun place to be with. I'm sure that you know that.
It is. I grew up there, so it is really fun.
I thought so. So I was on a great rooftop terrace overlooking Victoria Harbour, meeting an old friend who was a founder of a technology firm called Innovation. And they had a technology which handles the power management of small solar devices. And at that time, we're speaking the end of 2010, they were the global market leader for solar cell phone technologies. So basically 90% of all the solar cell phones in the world have their technology inside. And they were looking at differentiating. So a few weeks before, they were in a bar with a beer, thinking of creative ideas of where to put their technology in. And they thought it would be kind of cool to put it in a solar LED light. And how fun would it be if that light would actually fit on a bottle? Because, well, they were drinking a beer. So I heard the idea while I was there, and it blew my mind. It was nothing more than that. It was an inspiration. It was an idea. They had no idea how to design that or how to market it. So I called a close friend of mine, Maurits Groen, which translates to green, by the way, from the Netherlands, with whom I was doing the program in South Africa. And I told him about the idea, and he has brought Al Gore to the Netherlands on several occasions, actually. So I asked him, I said, if we're going to do this, would you present this idea to Al Gore and see whether he, might want to be an ambassador for this product? I figured if he would stand behind it, then we have a marketing machine, it's unbeatable. And he said, yes, I will propose that to him. And by saying so, he said, I will open up my entire network, which is quite huge because he's the most sustainable entrepreneur in the Netherlands, actually. He's the number 3 on the Dutch Sustainable Top 100 Most Influentials. So I was extremely excited that he wanted to participate. Called another friend to see whether, Kim van der Leeuw, to see whether our product or a product idea, because it was nothing more than an idea at that stage, would be eligible for carbon credits, which still had a value at the time. He said, yes, that's possible. So right there and then, during that phone call, with the beer still in my hand, we basically formed the project team and we decided we're going to do this. 9 months later, we had the first prototype in our hands. And a snowball started rolling from there, which has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger over the past few months. And it's turned into a roller coaster, which you can only just hang on to because it's going so incredibly fast. But it's really a dream come true, Lorna. It's a thrill to be able to do this. I'm 40 years old, and finally, I have found my passion.
So that's fantastic. So basically, your business idea started in a bar.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you write
You can say that.
Did you write your business plan on a cocktail napkin?
Uh, well,
I'm just
if it
kidding.
would have
It
been
happens a
no, no.
lot.
If it would have been a very simple business idea, then that would have been possible. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So, Camille, can you tell us how your business actually addresses the world's most pressing concerns?
Yes. What a lot of people don't know is that light or electricity is not something that comes easy for a lot of people in the world. There's about 1.5 billion people, or close to a quarter of humanity, that do not have access to electricity. So when the sun sets, basically life ends for those people. At 6 o'clock in the evening, it's pitch black. They cannot do anything until the sun rises again in the morning. So they are dependent on highly toxic, very expensive kerosene lamps, candles, fires. It's one of the world's forgotten horrors, to be honest. During the course of this interview, literally hundreds of people will burn as a result of accidents with these kerosene lamps. It's 16,000 people per day who are severely burned for life. And not only that, kerosene costs families up to 20% of their income. Sometimes I ask people, could you imagine what your life would be like if you would have to sacrifice 20% of your income for just one light bulb in your house? It's difficult for people to grasp, but that's reality for hundreds of millions of people in the world. So we're trying to do something about that with currently the most efficient solar light in the world, and we have called it Waka Waka, which translates to shine bright in Swahili.
So, how exactly do you use your for-profit business model to solve these problems?
Well, what we're trying to do is we've created a product which is also attractive to Western consumers. So we're selling this product also in Europe and in the United States, in Australia and other Western markets. And what we're doing with this is we're trying to cover as much of our overhead as possible. That is the first thing that we're doing. So we can keep our profit margins as low as possible for off-grid markets where our impact really, really matters. Now, on top of a regular margin that we really need to make on our sales also in the States and in Europe, we charge a premium, which is going to the Waka Waka Foundation. So that can vary between $2 and $10 per unit that we are selling, and that those dollars are used for either crisis aid or for foundations who do not have another way of raising funds to buy light. So through that way, we are making light more affordable for those living at the base of the pyramid who really cannot afford anything. And we are talking to microfinance organizations as well. So what we're doing is we are buying from the funds that we're raising through our Western sales. We purchase additional lights, which we put in front of a microfinance organization. And we're asking them, please hand these out to your customer base. Ask them to pay $1 a week or whatever you think is feasible. By the time you have recovered the cost price of the lamp, all we ask is that you buy a new one. And you keep doing this. So it becomes a rolling fund.
So tell me how that works. So you partner with a microfinance organization. You provide these Waka Waka solar lights. And how do their clients actually use these lights and actually generate an income from them? Can you explain?
Yeah, this is the interesting thing. There's a difference between theory and practice. In theory, the model is brilliant. Now we're talking to microfinance organizations, and basically we're saying to them, here we have 10,000 lights free of charge. You ask your customers to pay at whatever time period they think is feasible, and the only thing that we ask is that you use those funds plus some profit for your overhead, is that you use those funds to keep on buying lights with us. They're not used to these kind of disruptive models. So we have introduced this to a number of very large microfinance organizations, but we haven't struck a deal yet. So we still have to persuade them, basically, of the way this works. Because it's really too much out there. They've never done anything like this before.
Do you think there's a market for, for village entrepreneurs, for example, to charge a small fee to use your solar light and charger to recharge cell phones, like for some of the other villagers? Or
it's a huge market, and you have no idea. They're actually a new business in Africa. It's called mobile phone charger. You would get on your bike, you would collect batteries from people who own mobile phones, and to my great surprise, actually, out of the 1.5 billion people without electricity, 600 million of them, so more than a third, own a mobile phone. So they need a battery for their phone. They need a battery which is on the way from their house to the charging station in the next village. And they need another battery for the way back from the village back to their house. And they are paying anywhere between $20 cents and $50, $60 per charge. We have examples from Haiti where people are spending up to 30%. You cannot imagine this. People are spending up to 30% of their income on charging their phone. So not on the minutes, but charging.
Just charging. So how do they traditionally pay for the power to charge their phones? Is it by paying the local energy company?
Yeah, well, remember, they're not connected to the grid.
Right, right. So I'm trying to understand why it's so expensive for them and how they do it. So to clarify, these individuals who are not, part of the grid, they're paying these mobile phone charging vendors an exorbitant fee just to charge their phone.
That is correct.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Interesting. So, so in addition to, working with microfinance organizations, do you also give away lights to local nonprofits? Do you give money? How else do you support organizations that are fighting against energy poverty?
We give away products, but we give it away free of charge, but preferably not for free. Which means if you give something totally for free, it has no perceived value. That has been a huge problem, because people are not using the light, or they would sell it for $1 or $2. So what we are asking basically is a service, any kind of service in return. So that could be some kind of community service, cleaning up stuff, following an education program. It could be all kinds of things. In Haiti, there's an example of a community with about 1,000 people who are receiving a light free of charge. And we are asking them, well, it's not totally free of charge in this case, so we are asking them for a voluntary contribution of $2, which is going to be used for a community solar light. So they have their own individual lights, and then on top of that, they are helping to fund a community solar light for the local latrines there, because that's a very dangerous spot to be there at night. So we are asking for something in return. And even though we are just a startup, we've managed to donate in excess over $500,000 worth of product in the last 5 months, actually.
Wow, that's fantastic. So what regions of the world do you operate in?
Well, we had received interest for Waka Waka from over 90 countries from around the world. Literally from Canada to Vanuatu. I had to look up Vanuatu on a map. You probably know where it is, but I didn't.
I've always wanted to go to Vanuatu, so that sounds so exciting to me that you guys
Seriously,
are there.
let me know when you're there. And, I'm bringing Waka Waka with you, because there's 150,000 people there living off-grid.
Fantastic. I will. I'll take you up on it one day.
Yeah. So, no, we're active in countries like South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Somalia, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Zambia, Uganda, Rwanda, Indonesia, India, and the United States. And in the Netherlands, of course, as well. So a lot of these countries are currently building the market with test orders. We're seeing an increase in demand very rapidly. So we only entered the market a few months ago, a little bit over half a year ago. So it's all very fresh for everybody, but we're seeing an incredibly rapid growth. It's really amazing to see what can happen in a very short time.
Well, it must be so fulfilling to be an entrepreneur and to know that you have such a global impact. What do you most love about your business?
That it's changing lives, and not just changing lives. It's actually, and this is very humbling. It's actually saving lives, and a lot of people can say that about what they do, but. We heard a story 2-3 weeks ago. We're trying to find out exactly who this is and what her name is. But let me just tell you the story. It was a lady in it was Cameroon, and she received a Waka Waka light. It only has one button on it, so it's very easy to operate. And the day after, she was giving birth to I think it was a little boy. And maternal health is one of the biggest problems in Africa, and a lot of women die while giving labor, or while giving birth. Sorry, to kids. And she actually was bleeding to death at that time. She was able to find the emergency beacon on the light. If you press it for 2-3 seconds, an SOS light starts blinking. And I don't know how far away, but far enough, beyond the reach of her voice, somebody saw the light blinking, and they came to help her and rescued her and the baby. So I thought that was a pretty amazing story, and it gave me shivers all down my spine that we, for the first time, we really heard a concrete story back about the impact that we're making. And these stories must be out there, many more, but normally we don't hear that. But this is you cannot imagine how it makes you feel if you know that this is the impact that you're making.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, one of the things, that is really powerful is to connect with the human story behind the endeavor that you are engaged in, because we can look at statistics. For example, kerosene fires are the #1 cause of slum fires in India, for example. But to hear like an individual's experience and how it really changed that person's life is a powerful way of really connecting with the people you're serving, and also being able to connect with those customers that you have, and to help them know that every purchase that they make of a Waka Waka light can have an impact on someone else far away in a very powerful and life-changing way.
Can I share a story about a blind village head?
Absolutely. I'd love stories. Tell me.
This I found crazy. We heard in Nigeria. This was in Nigeria, up north in Nigeria. A blind village head was enthusiastic about receiving Waka Waka light or solar light. They were Waka Wakas, but solar light in his village. And I asked our local partner there, so how come a blind person cares? What's the difference? But the problem was it's not always a very happy life. Living at the base of the pyramid, it's rough, it's tough, and it's every day is a constant struggle for survival. And all of a sudden, he could hear laughter and joy around him, and because people had an evening, they were able to stretch their day by 3 hours. So normally they would have to go to bed. They had kerosene lamps and battery-powered torches, but all of those are extremely expensive. So they used those for a limited time only. And all of a sudden, people were talking to each other. Kids were studying. Women were doing chores in the evening. They were more productive during the day. It changed the whole village way of life. And that's why he was so incredibly excited about that. I thought it was a pretty cool story, to be honest.
That's beautiful because, absolutely. One would wonder, why would a blind person need a solar light? But then when you think about the additional hours of activity and family life that light actually enables, people can enjoy dinner longer. They can do, more important chores that they need to get done during the day. Studying's hugely important. So I think that's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear.
So when I heard that story, we approached Andrea Bocelli, whom I'm sure you know.
I don't actually. Tell me.
Oh, he's one of the most world famous opera singers from Italy, but he can't see either. So he has been discovered by Pavarotti some time ago. And we have asked him whether he would be willing to come to Amsterdam in the Netherlands to do a charity concert and raise funds to be able to donate lights to a village in Africa. And basically he said yes.
That is so exciting. I love how you're getting high caliber people behind your business. And that brings me also to the next question, which is, okay, you've gotten some powerful players in the sustainability sector. You've gotten access to those individuals, which is hugely important to help you grow your business. But how do you market your business? Like when it comes to actually reaching your target customer, what marketing channels do you find work best for you?
That's a very interesting question because we don't have a Budweiser budget. We actually have close to zero marketing dollars. And that has been the case for the last 2 years, actually. We've decided that we do not want to sell out our company to corporate investors who are mostly interested in shareholder value. We look for people who are interested in shareholder impact. So we're not making it easier for ourselves. But to answer your question, we tell stories, and we use social media for this, Twitter, Facebook, and we are fortunate enough that in the Netherlands, Moritz, my partner, has a vast network also in Dutch media, and in the Dutch corporate scene, basically. So we've been able to build quite a name for ourselves within a certain scene in the Netherlands. So it's quite safe to say that within the sustainability branch in the Netherlands, there are few people who haven't heard of Waka Waka yet, and now we're doing the same in the United States also, and we're trying to use other people's networks. So we're trying to tap into, for example, disaster preppers who are preparing for the next natural disaster. And we're getting their ears, and we're getting their platforms also to talk about Waka Waka being an amazing product, first of all, which is interesting for them, but also having a significant social component, which makes it an interesting story to talk about, actually. And I think this is also why we ran such a successful Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, so I'm really curious. All this power networking that you're doing, do you find it actually to be much more effective in growing your customer base, or was it much more effective in helping you raise? How can you tell me how much in total you guys raised doing crowdfunding, both on the European side and the U.S. side?
Yeah. So let me start by saying that last year we did our first ever Kickstarter campaign. That was December 2011, and we raised altogether with our Dutch campaign combined, we raised $140,000 in about 2 months' time. So about $50,000 on Kickstarter and another $80,000 to $90,000 in the Netherlands, parallel. This year we decided to do a campaign for a month to make it a bit more urgent for people to participate. And in 1 month time on Kickstarter we raised $420,000, and at the same time in the Netherlands another $280,000. So altogether $700,000 in less than a month.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, it blew our minds also. And actually we're in the top 0.5 most funded Kickstarter projects ever, not being from the States. We're pretty excited about all that.
Yeah, that is so compelling. I'd love to understand what your secret sauce was, what were your keys to success on becoming like the top 5, best funded Kickstarter campaigns?
Yeah, well, what we learned from last year is that preparation is everything. Last year we launched our campaign, and while it was online, we started wondering, and now what? How do we generate traffic to our Kickstarter campaign? And when you do that, you're already 6 weeks behind the game, actually. So this year we started 6 weeks in advance.
Wow.
Tweeting to all kinds of influentials, to bloggers, to journalists, asking if they would care to talk about us on 12/12/12 when we launched our campaign. We actually made a launch teaser movie in which we announced that for every Waka Waka power that we would pre-sell during the Kickstarter campaign, that's our new model which can also charge mobile phones. We would donate a Waka Waka light, so without phone charge capability, but still super efficient solar lamp. We would donate a Waka Waka light to Haiti for the victims of the earthquake. And on January 12th, 2013, so this year, it was exactly 3 years ago since the earthquake, and that was the day our campaign ended. Funny thing was, we only found out about that halfway through the campaign.
You only found out that the campaign ended halfway through. Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Oh, sorry, no. Halfway through the campaign, we found out that the day our campaign ended, it was you wouldn't call that a celebration, but it was the anniversary, basically, of the Haiti earthquake.
I see.
That was the day our campaign ended. And on that day, we were able to announce that we raised enough funds to generate 12,000 lights to Haiti for 12,000 families, lighting up the lives of some 60,000 people.
Okay, so yeah, that's a fantastic campaign. Deliverable, I would say. Like that's really impactful what you guys did. And I think so. Would you say then, because I understand too that a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to do crowdfunding, so I'm going to start like in putting a page together and boom, I'm going to raise all this money. And that's definitely not the case. So, since this was the second time you guys did it, you guys started off first with doing outreach for a 6-week period of time to bloggers, essentially. So you guys created, did research and compiled a list of bloggers who you then contacted to ask them to promote and publicize this this campaign that you had to donate lights to Haiti. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct. But on top of that, we reached out to journalists, but we reached out to all kinds of people who we thought would hear our story and who had a lot of followers. So we would ask them to retweet us. We did a lot of Facebook promotions. So we really used our social media to reach out to as many people as possible. And from there on, you just also need to be a little bit lucky. Somewhere during the campaign, we had an article on Mashable. And we were trending topic on Mashable for about 8 or 9 hours. That was our best day during the campaign, actually. We were shared more than articles about Obama at that moment through Mashable. That was pretty awesome, actually. And we got an article in a German magazine called Der Spiegel, which is in Germany, everybody knows Der Spiegel. So all of a sudden, we were getting a few hundred backers from Germany within 2 days' time.
So how did you develop these relationships? Did you hire a PR consultant to help you guys with it, or did you just do some Google research to try to identify the kinds of folks that would really get behind a social enterprise and solar light campaign, charitable project? How do you identify the people that you would then cultivate as influencers to promote your crowdfunding campaign?
Well, Well, we did ask for some help, but to remind you again, we had close to zero marketing dollars, so there was really not much for us to spend in preparation of the campaign. So we asked 2 guys, Cas and Chebe, to help us in the preparation. So they helped us out for about 4 weeks, something like that. They worked day and night in preparation of the campaign. Putting together all kinds of press releases, messages which we could launch during the campaign on Facebook. They were doing the tweets. They understand the social media language. And these guys, they just got fresh out of school. One of them, Chebe, he still had to graduate. So you can imagine that for them, this was also it was fun. They were in the end of their studies to do this for 2 weeks, work their ass off for some time, and then see what happens. But come the start of the campaign, and I asked them to stick around for a little while, and I could see the interaction that they had with backers. We were getting so much traction. And we wanted to communicate with all our backers personally, and it was my face actually on that Kickstarter campaign. I'm not able to speak with everybody during the day on a personal note, so I asked them actually to talk to our backers on my behalf, and I saw that every day they were around, we could see the impact of what they were doing virtually in donation dollars, or in not donation, in funding dollars. So I asked them to stick around till the end of the campaign. And by that time, we raised some funds. So I was actually able to offer them a salary. And they're working for us now.
So what types of people did you try to reach out to get to promote your crowdfunding campaign?
Yes, well, we formulated some target groups, even though basically everybody with a mobile phone is a target. But we specifically reached out to environmentalists, people who want to do good in the world. We reached out to NGOs, and we reached out also to the prepper community.
I'm sorry, to which community?
Yeah, we would call them the prepper community, people who are preparing for a natural disaster. But
I see.
Yeah, so there are people who you would call actually preppers, who are disaster preppers. But if you use that kind of language, you're talking to about 40 million people a year, 40 million people a year in the United States who at some point or time during the year have to deal with blackouts. 40 million people in the States deal with blackouts on a regular basis in the States. It's unbelievable. So if you talk about blackouts, about natural disasters, about no electricity around, about charging your mobile phone, you're talking to a lot of people actually.
So if we look at the whole population of people who donated money to, or contributed money to your crowdfunding campaign, of all those people, what percentage of those people were individuals that you already had a relationship with, like, you know, through your power networking activities, through your business network, versus people who just discovered and learned about Waka Waka through the course of your, you know, your promotion and social media marketing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I spoke to a crowdfunding consultant last year, and they said typically your average crowdfunding program reaches or gets funding from your personal network. Normally, a project owner would know 60% of his funders. I think in the case of Kickstarter, we know less than 5%. Really, so we hardly know anybody. So they all found us one way or another through media, through the Kickstarter website itself, but through social media. That's the way how they found us. And also, if you do well on Kickstarter, you end up high in the rankings. So a Kickstarter also puts you up in most popular, for example. And then there's a little trick I would like to share with your listeners. If you have a product for Kickstarter in this case, which would be eligible for more than one category, you may want to consider switching categories during the campaign. Because if you switch your category during the campaign, the Kickstarter system will recognize you as a new project and will plug you again higher up in the rankings, which will bring more traffic to your site.
Ooh, that's a really juicy tip right there. Thank you so much, Camille, for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Wow, so I'm so impressed with the success of your campaign and how many more people you were able to reach just through all your, you know, preparation promotion that you did before you guys launched. Now, if I were to, you know, one question before I move on to, you know, the list of key elements that made your, you know, Kickstarter campaign successful. Before I do that, I want to ask you, did you get a sense that there are people on the Kickstarter platform actively looking for projects to fund?
Yes, thousands.
So just by being placed highly in the, you know, popular, you know, campaigns on Kickstarter means you have access to the people that are just looking, that have extra money that they want to donate and contribute to a great cause, that are just looking for something cool to give their money to.
That's absolutely so. That's why we chose Kickstarter, because it's the largest crowdfunding platform in the world. And it has a very large natural flow of traffic. So I would say that if not half, then at least a substantial part of our backers are coming really from the Kickstarter community. And
interesting.
If you look at
half
some
of your backers from Kickstarter itself.
I really would not be surprised if half would just come would have found us through the Kickstarter network, not through any media or anything. If you look at the profiles of those people, you can see a lot of differences. Some people only backed one project, that would be our project, and there are quite a lot of people who have backed 5, 10, 20, up to 40 or 80 different projects, sometimes with just $1 for the heck of it, and others really because they are, just nuts for cool stuff and being the first one to get something.
That's fascinating. Okay, so I think one of the things that when someone is an organization is trying to make a decision as to what crowdfunding platform to use, I think one of the drawbacks to Kickstarter, from what I understand, is that if you do not fund 100% of your project, all the money goes back to the donors. Whereas for some other platforms like Indiegogo, you get to take whatever amount of money you raised, even if you don't meet your goal. So I think that's what makes a lot of organizations hesitant to get on Kickstarter because, hey, if your goal is $100,000 and you've raised 80, it would still be great to get that $80,000,
Correct. And that's why you should be very considerate about how high you set your goal. Because we set our goal at $50,000, and I don't want to sound too arrogant, but the preparations that we made those 6 weeks, they were so substantial that and we had a backer base from the year before already. 800 people backed us the year before, so it was a pretty safe bet to say that we would hit that $50,000. How far over we would go over that $50,000, we had no idea. I was hoping we would double it, maybe triple it to 150, maybe $200,000. That would have been an excellent result based on the efforts that we put in already. But if we would have set our goal at, let's say, $150,000, first of all, what it would do with Kickstarter backers would say, why are these guys? Why do they need $150,000? And why do they come to Kickstarter to raise so much money? What are they going to do with that? So you really need to have a good story, and you need to be confident that you can actually reach that $150,000. There are only very, very few projects that set the bar so high and go over it. So if you set your goal relatively low, you're pretty sure of reaching your target, so you're going to get funded, and as a side effect, it makes you look sympathetic because you have a modest goal, you go over it 100%, 200%, 300%, which makes you a very successful project, which puts you high up on the rankings. So there's a lot of benefits for not putting up your expectations and your ambitions too high on Kickstarter.
Do you think donations start to slow down once people see that the goal is being reached or has been reached, or do they just not care? Like they just because your project is so cool, they'll continue
they do care. And actually, what you see if a project comes to an end and it hasn't reached its goal yet, but it's near to it, you would see backers who are more willing to back that project to help them out, basically to make sure that it's funded. However, if you reach your goal too early, you will miss out on those backers who are on the Kickstarter project to help out small entrepreneurs and startups. However, there are solutions for that. So once we reached our first goal of 50,000, we introduced what you would call a stretch goal. So a second goal. So then we said, at the pace we're going now, wow, in a couple of days we may hit 100,000, and what we said is if we hit 100,000, I don't know the exact spiffs by heart, but if we hit 100,000, oh yeah, I remember. If we hit 100,000, everybody's gonna get 25% battery capacity free of charge. So also the backers that we already had would get a bonus if we would reach, our next goal. So we were actually stimulating our early adapters basically to go out and help us to reach the second goal of 100,000, so they would get an extra benefit as well, namely 25% extra battery capacity free of charge. Once we hit the 100,000 marker, we came up with another one. We say if we hit our next goal, I think it was 200,000 or 150,000. Then everybody's going to get a waterproof pouch, because we got some complaints that it wasn't waterproof or not water resistant enough because it has a USB port. So we figured we introduce a waterproof pouch, make everybody happy. You can put it out in the rain. It's transparent, so it still charges. You can use it out on the boat, on the beach, etc. And again, that motivated everybody who had gotten us up to 100,000 to go out and talk to their friends and say, listen, if you back this project, it's cool stuff. And once we reach 150,000, I'm gonna get this free of charge water pouch. So it was stimulating people to keep talking about us.
That is brilliant. So you can actually introduce additional goals on top of your initial goals. So let's say you set a number and you find that you're reaching your goal very quickly and you don't want your campaign to end because you think you might be able to raise more funds. So you introduce stretch goals and additional benefits, and that's what keeps the buzz going.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Correct. So we anticipated thinking about stretch goals. We anticipated that, but we didn't think we would hit it so fast. So we were surprised by the speed at which we were reaching our stretch goals. So every time, we really had to think hard and fast to come up with some serious stretch goals because people are anxious and they're impatient, and they say, listen guys, we made our stretch goal, what's the new one? They just want to know.
So every time you introduce a stretch goal, then your goal number changes and the percent funded bar, or quantity also changes as well. So it looks like you haven't reached your goal yet. Is that how it works?
You only communicate that basically in your text body. So the actual goal, it remains to be $50,000. When you reach 100,000, it says 200% funded.
Oh,
when you reach 150, it says 300% funded. And actually, people look at those projects also because like attracts like. If something's going on, people come over and say and want to have a peek. What's going on there? What is so successful? What did I miss? So it's very interesting to set your standards or your targets not too high, in order to be able to get to that 100%, 200%, 300% funded, because it will attract more traffic to your site also.
Okay. So if we were going to dial this back and look at the list of key elements as to what made your Kickstarter campaign successful, what would you tell somebody else to do so that they could model the same success that you guys had?
A couple things. Prepare. And make it personal. Those are by far the most important things. And how you prepare and how you make it personal, there's a lot of things to say about that. But prepare the launch of your Kickstarter campaign carefully. Think about who you want to reach to, who is interested to talk about you. Ask them to participate in advance. And tell them why you're doing what you're doing. And during the campaign, make sure that you talk to your backers. They're not just your average customers. These are people who put a lot of faith in you because they're buying something and they just have to wait and see whether they're actually going to get it half a year from now. And they don't take shit from nobody. They want to be treated sincerely because they are making your business successful. They're giving you the opportunity to build molds, to pay for your product development, to start your company. So they're not just backers, they're basically founding fathers in a way. And they should be treated as such, with a lot of respect and personal attention. And to my big surprise, we got a lot of compliments from backers complimenting us about our personal approach. Basically, that told us that not a lot of Kickstarter program owners are actually doing that. So you really need to be on the ball. If somebody asks you a question, you answer them, and not 2 days later, but try to do that within 2 hours, regardless of time differences. So that's why we had two people on answering questions from Kickstarter actually. And we thanked also every new backer personally. So every day, if somebody would send out, they were standardized, but somebody would send out a thank you note saying, "Hey Lorna, thank you so much for backing us. And by the way, if you have a Twitter or Facebook account, here's the link to our campaign. Would be great if you would support us." And people appreciate that.
So you had a 6-week campaign ramp-up period with your two interns that were helping you guys out. How much were they working during that 6-week period of time, just to kind of get an idea of like the workload you're signing up for?
10 to 12 days per day. 10 to 12 hours per day.
Okay, 5 days a week.
Yeah, 7 days a week.
Wow.
7 days a week. They were really working their ass off, really.
Oh my God. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
I had them for 4 weeks, I believe. 4 weeks.
Okay. Wow. All right. Good to know. And then during the actual crowdfunding campaign itself, how long was that period of time?
The same, and 2 more people joined, making the same amount of hours.
Okay, so you had 4 people working for 4 weeks, 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It's really hard work. It's really hard work. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that from a number of people. Okay, great. So let's see. We are coming to the end of our hour, and I'd love to wrap up with a final question, not about the crowdfunding, but about this whole process of launching this business. I would love to ask you what the biggest time-consuming, energy-draining, or expensive mistake you made in your business was, and what advice you would give to others so that they can avoid making that mistake.
Interesting question. One of the most time-consuming things I've done, one of the most time-consuming things I've done is I've tried to talk to all the different distributors, organizations, individuals who have approached us and who have shown interest in Waka Waka around the world. We have literally received hundreds and hundreds of inquiries, and I wanted to talk to all of them, which is not. It's theoretically even impossible for a few people. So, what I should have done instead was make a profile of the kind of people and organizations that we want to work with. Also formulate target countries, target segments, and focus with regard to where we want to start. And it's impossible to deal with the whole world at once when you're starting up a new company. And I was over enthusiastic, and I thought, hey, this is a major success overnight. So let's talk to everybody. And that in result actually delayed the rollout of the product by several months. So actually now I'm working together with a branch professional who has been a sales director for a major lighting company in the south of the Netherlands, world famous. And we are very fortunate to work with him. His name is Anthony, and he's really helping us focus our sales efforts around the world.
Okay, so this new product that you guys created using the funds from your crowdfunding campaign, can you tell us a little bit about it, how it might be different from your previous product, and where we can go buy it online or offline? Yeah.
Well, the Waka Waka Power, it's the world's most compact solar power station. Basically, it will charge your iPhone within 2 hours. It's actually faster than charging your phone on grid. It really is. You can try this. You put this device out in the sun for a day, on a sunny day, and it will charge the battery completely. So within 1 day, you have power for your smartphone, plus excess power for at least 1 or 2 nights of light. So this is the new Waka Waka Power, which charges your mobile phone. The difference with our previous light is that the previous Waka Waka light didn't have a USB charger. So you would be able to buy it online through Amazon.com or through waka-waka.com. And there are numerous other online resellers in the United States that are carrying it. But since this week, we are also in Fry's. Perhaps you know Fry's, very large electronics chain. Not so many stores, but they have about 34, 35 stores, mostly on the West Coast. These are huge stores, getting like 30,000 people on a Saturday. It's the first time that Waka Waka is available in bricks and mortar. And we hope by the end of this year, it will be available nationwide in the United States and in the Netherlands.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time, Camille. I really enjoyed your stories and your crowdfunding tips. How can our listeners stay in touch with Waka Waka best?
What we would like very much is for people to follow us on Facebook and on Twitter, but not just follow, but also participate. So we post all kinds of info, not just about Waka Waka, but about solar tech in general, about getting rid of energy poverty during our lifetime. And we really look forward to interacting with people. So to get ideas, to connect, and to build opportunities through Facebook and through Twitter. That would be the most ideal way.
And can you tell us the URLs for your Facebook and Twitter profiles?
Yes, of course. They're not too complex. Facebook.com/WakaWakaLite. And it's the same for Twitter, Waka Waka Light. If you look up Waka Waka Light on Twitter on Twitter or Facebook, you will find us. Or you can connect through our website, waka-waka.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Camille, and you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Lorna, for the opportunity, and I wish you a great life in your adventures around the world.
Thank you. For our Tools and Hacks segment of the show, I want to share with you an amazing discovery I made today. I discovered of the 400 billionaires that made the 213 Forbes 400 list, 273 of them are entirely self-made. In other words, 68% of the richest people in the world built themselves up from nothing. People like Oprah Winfrey, Howard Schultz, founder of Starbucks, Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle, John Paul DeJoria of John Paul Mitchell Systems, the hair care products you see in every salon. This debunks the belief that the reason why rich people are rich is because they were born that way. In his 5-year study of the habits of wealthy and poor individuals, wealth guru Tim Corley of RichHabits.net presents a list of habits that are keeping you poor, plus the 10 keystone habits of the rich. We've linked to his post in our show notes, which you can find at entrepreneursforchange.com/3. I found it interesting to see on Tim's list of bad habits keeping you poor this item. You are not generous with your time or money with respect to your relationships. It seems like a revolutionary idea that giving, rather than hoarding, can actually attract more wealth and success. Well, let me tell you, this philosophy of giving back is working great for Waka Waka and many of the ethical retailers that have embraced the Buy One Give One movement sparked by Tom Shoes. Changemakers, Buy One Give One is one of the easiest and most powerful ways to give back. Not only will your customers love and evangelize you, saving you a ton of money on marketing and advertising, your business will be a force for good that sparks a movement. Trust me, I have companies like this on my radar. Check out the companies we filed under the category Buy One Give One at entrepreneursforchange.com. Since we're on the topic of wealth, here's a handy tool I recommend to help you manage your small business cash flow and finances. It's called Indinero. Indinero is your entire back office. This software takes care of your accounting, files your corporate tax returns, and manages your payroll. I love that the co-founders of Indinero, Jessica Ma and Andy Sue, started the company from their dorm when they were only 19 years old. Indinero's goal is to provide its users with instant insights into the finances of their company so business owners can save on unnecessary expenses and focus on earning more money for their companies. Okay, that's it, folks. Thanks for listening, and bye for now. Thanks, folks, for listening to the Entrepreneurs for Change podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us reach more people with inspiring stories like this one by giving us a 5-star rating in iTunes. If this podcast inspires you to join the movement of change-making entrepreneurs, we'd love to give you a jumpstart with our free Business Changemakers Toolkit, which you can download at www.entrepreneursforchange.com/join. If you have a changemaker in mind you'd love for us to interview, go to entrepreneursforchange.com/ suggest, and tell us who and why. Finally, feel free to stop by facebook.com/entrepreneurs for a change to share your thoughts and say hello.